yesterday we did our branding. We learned about how to start to refine the artist brand. Then we spoke about the song, and then we spoke about the growth opportunities, which is in the whole Praise You Club. Then we came up with big ideas. So what I want to do is just share just one idea per artist of something that you did in your group, and use this session just to hear what everybody else was working from, if that sparks any ideas for you as well, and anything else that can help you with your project. And if you have had any experience in that type of field, always feel free to chime in and help anyone out. We are joined by Janelle, who's going to be...
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
Janelle, give us a bit of a spiel.
Yeah. So basically I work with I'm a freelancer. I work in the music industry and music tech, mainly in digital marketing, but I also do events, a bit of management, a bit of booking, a bit of everything. I'm also an artist, I'm in a band, and I learned most of the stuff through trying, to get myself into a music industry I wasn't familiar with. Because, I'm originally from Malta, but I moved to the UK 4.5 years ago to pursue music. The typical story, basically. So I had to learn everything from scratch, basically. So, I work with Amplify. They're one of my freelance clients, and we do distribution, smart links, events, metaverse stuff. So it's a bit of everything. It's a 360-degree marketing tool. We also have a free version, which I'm showing you tomorrow, and it's really helpful for independent artists especially.
What since you promoted your own band, what tactics or what are your kind of tried and true methods? What are working at the moment?
Yeah, actually at the moment we're doing a virtual house, which is quite interesting. So we're developing that and we're using it as an unlock. So we're linking that to an unlock page. So basically people, fans or whatever, they'll go to this unlock page, and you have to do an action, like you have to subscribe to our mailing list, for example. And through that they'll have access to this virtual house, which basically has bits and pieces like album artworks, teasers from the upcoming album and stuff like that. It's actually very interesting.
That's awesome.
We're working on it at this very moment, and I think it's quite important to come up with different ideas, a bit of, something that's kind of not really done in the music industry since there's so much competition. You have to try and stand out from the crowd in some way. So if you have any crazy ideas, I'd say try and implement them within your means, So.
Great, and so crazy ideas is what we're going to talk about this afternoon.
What kind of music is your band?
Oh, so it's alternative rock with a bit of psychedelic rock, art rock. It's a lot of bits and pieces.
Awesome. Who wants to kick it off? Who's brave enough to present their idea first? Woohoo!
Yeah.
Jump on in.
Yes. For my track, we were working with the ideas of chaos and energy, and the playlist name that we decided to work with was Enter the Void.
Okay.
And from the various ideas that we managed to create, I think the one that stands out the most, to me at least, is so having live visuals for a launch show or a launch party or something that are controlled by an app that the audience can control themselves. So what you would see behind the band playing.
Oh, cool.
Something
Okay.
that you could interact with while you're at the show. And then I guess what is created there can then stem into like video clips and other communication materials somehow.
Yep, that's awesome. Really good.
Probably not too easy to implement.
But you know what? You can always scale. You can scale every idea back, and you can scale it up as well. And so, yeah, that's really great. Okay, who's next?
Okay, so what picked this was the mood. Okay, the mood was reflective, indulging, daunting. And playlists, Sweet Toxicity and Medieval Morning Coffee. So maybe Sweet Toxicity didn't fit that. I don't know, whatever. So and I liked a lot of the ideas. Maybe one that really stood out was doing interviews with different artists and reveal people of interest, but interviewing them about their morning routine, and that maybe after that related with a video clip of the music with a morning routine of someone getting up and all of that.
I really like that idea. Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of people so interested in kind of the behind the scenes of creatives. There's a podcast that just recently launched called The Great Creators, where they interview people from really famous bands, and then also writers and directors, and it's fascinating to hear just like a creative person how they structure their day, because it's so different to working in a 9 to 5, which is what everybody else does. Have you had any experience with content like that?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of kind of ways how to elevate that. Maybe if we go to the unlock page idea, you could potentially create like a short film out of it and link it up with. I actually had this idea I come up with a lot of shit, like to do like a mini documentary and try and submit it maybe to short film festivals and stuff like that, so that you get into that space, since it's kind of a multidisciplinary idea. Like what I've found, like from my experience basically, is that the more you link up with other industries, the better. Because if your music appeals to a certain kind of audience and they're also interested in film, for example, they can discover you through that short film website or stuff like that. So
Awesome. Who's next?
Hey. So we focused. Well, I mean, it was a collective decision, but we focused on the playlist was my tune. The day for playing and fun was the idea from the playlist, and the mood was fun, and we came up, I think, the most interesting, or I think they were pretty interesting. I was very happy to brainstorm about my own stuff, because I would never figure out stuff that we would just brainstorm together, so I'm very happy. But it was about the idea of doing a collab, which goes kind of in the same direction you just mentioned, with fashion designers, because the music we do is like a fusion, like let's say a fusion in between jazz and Baroque music. So why not try to make a collaboration with a fashion designer that is into modern Baroque or neo-Baroque fashion as well, and make a collab where we would wear their stuff and we would play for the catwalks, for instance. It's very intimate environment. It's just piano and voice, and we'll be dressed up as as also the models, and kind of try and leverage both sides with the collab. I would never think of doing such a thing, but it just sounds really good, and I think it's actually possible. So
it is very
something
possible.
that I can feel like it's not that far away from being achievable. So
No,
we're
definitely.
very happy. Thank you, guys.
Well done. It's a really good idea.
Yeah?
I know a shoe designer. She does sneakers. I mean, she's becoming quite big in London. And she invites bands and stuff for her catwalks. So it's very achievable. Like, you should look into it. And maybe look at designers that are becoming popular from wherever you're from, and like send them an email.
Yeah.
And they can also include your music in advertisements and stuff
Exactly.
like that.
Yes.
Good work.
Yeah.
Really good. All right, who's next?
Do you want to go?
We already did my idea.
Yeah.
But sorry. We did discuss for Ugo and Greta songs. Ugo is not here right now, but do you want to discuss yours? I have notes for it as well if you want to see.
Maybe you tell about mine and you tell about Google.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay, just give me a second.
Love your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Try to shoot it.
Okay, so should I start from the yeah, okay, so our first idea was after hearing the song, and this was actually my idea, that your song is like very, its first word is dance. It makes me want to get up and dance, and
Yeah.
I think it could be performed in a concert by that sort of medium, that hey, this is a dance party,
Yeah.
and come for the dance party. And then because it gets together people not just who want to listen to the music, but also who maybe want to dance only, and then they get exposed to the music as well. And that's why it was dance parties during a concert, songs for dancing around the fire, which was the playlist idea. Invite people specifically to dance with the songs, the idea of, and it's also to promote the idea of togetherness, beyond language and culture. And again, then we had this idea where it was more like a collaborative idea with all three of us discussing that. I was like, hey, this music could sound great with belly dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would really be able to exemplify the feeling of that groove and everything.
Definitely.
And then Ugo was like, yeah, but how about if you combine it with urban outfits, and belly dancers, but more wearing something different, or and mixing other styles of dance or with it, and maybe even perform this music in a public place, because it's instantly relatable, the tunes and the groove, and
It feels very community as well.
Exactly.
It sounds like you listen to it with. Whereas some of the other tracks, like yours, for example, everyone's alone. Let me be tune out from the world.
Yeah. And then the other idea that I think Greta and Ugo came up with was an electronic music twist to the song, where the song could shift, it could start in a way where it's original, and then there could be a transition and it shifts to an electronic vibe, and that could be a remix, as well as you could also make a music video out of it.
Yeah.
So am I missing anything out of this? Yeah.
I think Ugo was talking about also shifting the position, belly dancer is mostly. In the traditional belly dance, you have the woman who is object of being beautiful and being a static object, and then the idea of putting urban clothes and maybe mixing the types of dance also had the idea of shifting this role. Okay, they are dancing, but being powerful and not being just something to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
I thought that.
I know a male belly dancer.
Of course,
if you want
it's possible, and that
There
would
you
be,
go.
you want to say something?
Really awesome.
And that would tap the social context as well, that we were talking yesterday, hey, look at this issue. Then for Ugo, his song, the playlist, I don't remember, but I have it. Basically, the mood was heartbroken, but happy, uplifting, and the playlist was also they alone at home, and also kind of heartbroken. Then we thought about two things. We thought about cover, but done by the fans, so the fans could record how they perform this song at home and send it to the band. And then the band, there were two ideas: either chooses one to record a video clip with them, or as you said, just to make a video clip out of all of the things that were sent. And then Ugo had this idea of merchandising with the fanzine, so he said that the guy who sings in that tune, he also draws, and they both write, so they would create a fanzine with 10 conselhos, 10 advice how to how to survive.
Sort of to survive a heartbreak, and you could give that as a Yeah, so basically survival tactics of a heartbreak, and you could actually give that as something when you release the song.
That's
And
good.
yeah.
And also the idea of the remix as well, with like a stone rock, because the song is like kind of versatile, like it changes the mood.
Yeah.
So then Ungo had this
Yeah.
idea of all of the
Song
fans,
by song.
is that all of the fans they gather and sing like choir in the back vocals, and they make like a cover of another band playing it as if it was like a stoner rock, and then at some moment this heavy groove stops and the choir is singing in the light background.
That's awesome.
And then so I didn't make a song, but I showed quickly a bit like the kind of promotion material and things I used for my book, and we got some themes down, and we came up with, or like my collaborators came up with what for me is a lovely idea. What is a lovely idea? I mean, there were lots of lovely ideas, but the one that I could clearly see to put to proper use. So I'm going to go. I have a book launch in Paris next week, and in advance I'm going to do my nails with nail art related to the book. And then
Great idea.
the idea was to then actually, while doing this, read an extract of the book or read the relevant extract of the book. And I was like, wow, that's it. And so I think I'm actually just going to do that next week. It seems very attainable.
Yeah.
So
Think about Pinterest for putting that out as well, because do you ever use Pinterest?
no.
It's a really good long lead SEO platform. So because like once you create pins, it's really helpful for like if you're doing it for music videos where you'll create a bunch of pins and GIFs, and then it pushes always links back to the original article or music video. But for you, it could link to your book or book launch. But I use Pinterest all the time for like nail inspiration and stuff. And if you just had your nails with the book and then it's always linking back, might be
That could be great, but I do find that if there's like platforms that you don't use a lot, I don't know how Pinterest algorithm work, but then that if you use it, because I do have a Pinterest account, I think, but I rarely ever use it. And then I feel that if you don't use platforms a lot and then you use them for one specific thing, that these things, they don't really
I don't know that
necessarily get
Pinterest is
traction.
like that because it's not a community.
Okay.
It's just a search engine.
So you have to have things that people search for, and then
Yeah. But I can just imagine that, like that content's so visual. And I can just imagine doing really well. Any builds for that, or when you're doing social campaigns, what are the kind of things you're doing?
I mean, you can also, for example, I don't know if you use stuff like TikTok maybe or whatever, but you could film behind the scenes of doing all of this and post it as Reels or TikToks. There's a good TikTok book community called BookTok. So that's...
but then again, I also don't have a TikTok. Like, I feel like I need to focus a bit when it comes to social media, because like already I had a Twitter, but I don't use it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do, I think my main thing is Instagram, and then I have Facebook, maybe also more for like the local community.
Yeah.
And then I think that seems to be enough for me, because...
Yeah, I can understand. Maybe Instagram Reels then.
Yeah,
you can like, film this whole thing.
I mean, that's my idea, to like film, I don't know, it just be like, find the relevant passage in the book, or because he's going to paint Creative Commons logos on my nails, I think. So, and I find the part that's about the different Creative Commons licenses, and then I'll read that whilst he's doing it. Or I could even do a voiceover if that's too complicated, something like this.
It's great.
You need to subtitle things, right? You were talking about this before.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tips like on multilingual, because that's a bit of a problem now? Like I write in English and in French.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I feel like now I'm posting a lot about French stuff, but I feel like now what I do, like I post a link to a French something, but I write about it in English, and so I try to not alienate the English public. But with something like this, with like a video, it's a bit complicated because you can have only one sound.
Subtitles.
Yeah, but then if you do the subtitles in English, then the French-speaking audience who does not have their sound on will think it does not really...
I think you can potentially, you wouldn't use the Instagram captions or whatever. You would need to set that up separately. But what I've seen, because I watch a lot of Korean videos, that's what I do with my
What kind of videos?
Korean K-pop videos, anyway. That's my guilty pleasure. What they do is there's like one subtitle in Korean in one color and another subtitle in English in another color. And then that way you can. So it's done.
It's true that in Belgium they do it as well. It's really confusing if you're not used to it, but they do it in French and Dutch. They subtitle the English things.
I think people are got used to it though, since a lot of us watch stuff with subtitles anyway.
What's the book?
It's called Copy This Book, An Artist's Guide to Copyright. And in French it's called Copier ce livre, un guide vers le droit d'auteur et les communs culturels par et pour des artistes. It's a bit longer, because there are more.
When are you releasing it?
Well, I mean, I released it last weekend.
Okay. Oh, wow, good.
And, well, I mean the French one, because the English one exists for a while. But we're doing a little tour, so we went to a graphic design festival, and now I'm going to a book fair in Paris, where you can get other audience, because the graphic design festival is like in the countryside, so it's like graphic designers, and then the book fair should have more people.
Good luck.
Inshallah. Thanks.
Who do we have next?
So you only did one.
Yeah. Because we decided that 45 minutes wasn't enough to go through all the songs.
Yeah.
So we thought it was more interesting to have a more in-depth conversation, and we surely focus on a song. We have more ideas. Maybe we can talk about that.
Sure.
If I don't know.
You want to talk about them, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just quickly recap this. Well, we talked about a collaboration with another artist for a live show in Lisbon. Maybe you're better to explain this because you know the place. There's a specific place in Lisbon.
Yeah. So, because we picked the playful, like the day for playing in the fun mood. I find it really interesting because, of course, just one song does not capture the full concept of the album, but it has a story of its own. And since we've been talking so much about storytelling, I figured, well, it can have its own life and its own script. Yeah. And then eventually, if you do more than one single, you'll be able to guide people through the whole narrative of the album, but it doesn't have to be necessarily so that you already start injecting information about the full concept of the album. It's just make it fluid and light as the music is itself, like playful and fun. Yeah. I would never visualize that song as being playful and fun just because I have so much concept in my mind of why it is there specifically, and that, so it was good for me to be out of that out of that mood. And then all of a sudden they were throwing at me ideas like, well, if it was in a bohemian place, perhaps. And I was like, okay, a specific bohemian place, like an artsy kind of environment. And then I figured out there's a very, very particular place in Lisbon. It's in Alfama, which is an old neighborhood of Lisbon, like one of the oldest. And it's actually a hang for musicians, but it exists like for more than 20 years. And it's like an underground spot for musicians from all over the world. Oh, wow. So if you're a musician of any type of music particularly if you're connected to more traditional music, like world music, you would hang there to find other people that are doing traditional music of other countries. So fado players will be there, Brazilian singers and players will be there, and also Cape Verdeans will be there playing their own songs, and we are all playing each other's songs, and it's like a live collaboration, It just happens like that from people you never met. But then again, over the years, there's, you know, I've been going there for 20 years, so of course I know the people that go there like regularly, and then we're just singing each other's songs, you know, stuff like that. So that type of environment is unique. It's a very special one. And it's a very small bar. Madonna has been there. You know, Madonna has been, she was living for a while in Lisboa, and she was taken to that place, and she was just absolutely adored that place. It was such a crowded and small space that I guess Madonna was kind of, I don't know, she was probably just like
wearing
breathing on someone's neck or something like that in order to be there. But what happens is there's this Cape Verdean, it's a polarizer. He's a musician, and he used to be a dancer as well. And he plays the violin, the guitars, he sings, and he's just so expressive with his body, and he's, you know, he's all... He's entire self. And so they were telling me, why not make a collaboration with this guy in particular? And I'm like, well, I would never see him collaborating in this particular style, but why not? It's totally out of the box. So I think it's actually quite a very interesting, and I think he would be totally down for it. So I'm like, again, an achievable, a probable idea to actually put into practice. And that would be the whole concept of the video clip.
Yeah, I was
that
gonna say,
this was going to be filmed while happening. So this performance is happening live. It captures the spirit of that place, and at the same time, you don't have to write a script because it's very natural. It's already there. People do that anyways. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So just film it with the whole ambience. People go there anyways. It's always packed. People are happy. It's always light mooded and party-ish kind of feeling. So why not take advantage of that to make the video clip happen?
That's
for
awesome.
instance.
Oh, yeah. Can see it.
Yeah. Right. Oh, wait. Yes. So many good ideas. So he would be. You mean he would be participating in this? Oh yeah. So he would do himself a cover of this song. Mm-hmm. So he would start using it in his repertoire with his audience. So.
That's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Take this from my, scene, which is like. I'd say like the people that listen to classical music, but also like jazz, a certain specific type of jazz, it all comes out together, but they would never listen to, people from his audience wouldn't naturally
you get a good
be
crossover.
drawn to,
That's
so if
awesome.
he sings my song in a completely different way, it must be also a way of capturing. Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do now, and this will be the last exercise, is I want you to just reflect for 1 minute over everything that we've learned in the last 2 days, and just think about what was been the biggest kind of breakthrough or most valuable thing, or something that you'll take away, or one piece of advice that you're going to hold on to. I always think with these kind of things, particularly if you've been here for a long time, there's like so much information that's thrown at you, and you shouldn't expect to implement everything, but if you can just take one thing from everything that you go and see, I think that's a good use of time. And so I just want everyone to reflect on the one thing from the last 2 days in the marketing session that you're going to take away with and kind of keep yourself accountable to. And we're just going to go around the room once. Think of it like a wind waterfall, and then we'll wrap it up. No, we'll just say it. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to check the playlist curators and Summit Hub and all that kind of tools.
Yeah.
Because I haven't explored that yet. So and I'm trying. I'll try to find some more contacts around managers for bands I really like.
Yeah.
To try to get in touch, and maybe some of them would reply.
Exactly. You never know.
And you never know. So I'll try that. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Maybe the first thing would be not giving me so much anxiety, all of the subjects, and seeing that it's an ongoing process. You'll do things right and wrong, but it kind of liberates me, because I never want to think about this stuff. but I'm I want to understand the way I want to be in the world, in this, because sooner or later it's going to happen, because I want it. So it's helping me that way, and maybe discovering different parts that I never thought that could be like ambient music, seeing those playlists about that people hear when they're studying or trying to go to sleep or waking up. And I do those kind of things normally, but I normally focus on more constructed and complex music. But it's like, hey, maybe I can get some big audience, because there's a lot of people, because the world is so loud and so full of crap, that some music that kind of relaxes you a bit. Definitely. Maybe there's a big audience there. Yeah. And so maybe search there.
Yeah, that's great.
I think the idea that I'm gonna remember the most is probably social media batching, so kind of preparing loads of content in a more focused way, so that you don't have to constantly think about it.
Yeah, that's
something
great.
I never thought of, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's like how bodybuilders will batch their meals for the week.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly cooking chicken throughout the week, they make like 6 chicken breasts on a Sunday. And they're like, great, don't have to think about it.
Everybody who has a household to run can do that, no?
Yeah. Exactly.
I think venue-wise, one of the most useful things that I'll take from here is the 7 gatekeepers, not necessarily like the editors, but definitely the relationship with journalists and the influencers, because influencers not necessarily like social media, like content creators, but just people who move crowds to places. Yeah. So definitely like focusing on building those relationships with very focused types of people. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very
good
useful
stuff.
Something that I'm thinking about while you're saying this, that I learned from someone else basically, is that it's good to also build relationships with the interns, for example, the people interning at a particular magazine or online blog, because they'll be the ones that will eventually get those jobs that will be on top. So it's, you need to always treat, the interns and everyone with respect, because you never know what they'll end up, what job they'll end up in. So.
Yeah, for sure.
It was lots of interesting stuff. I think I take a lot away from it. Maybe most particularly this idea of crafting a persona is something I think I was doing already more or less, but that I could be more conscious about it, and really also the idea that you need to choose. Like, you can get lots of videos and photos and things of whatever the things you're doing, but to really make sure that it keeps, that whatever you choose to then re-amplify and redistribute, that it fits to the kind of image you're trying to project. I guess will help me be a bit more conscious about that.
Awesome.
What a chalk.
I think for me, there's a lot to take away from this, but if I was to focus on one thing, then maybe I would start with branding, the thing you shared right in the beginning, that like, okay, this is who you are in your head, but do people know that? Or does your Instagram or your social presence or whatever, however you put yourself out there, communicate that clearly? Yeah. And I think that's where I'll start, and then there's so much more.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Starting from the top.
Well, it was so useful in so many ways. I think particularly the praise you is something I need to be more aware of, because I just realized from from what we discussed here, that I do have many connections already, and well, some of them are missing, like influencers, because I've perceived them in a totally wrong perspective, and now I understand how, you know, by breaking down what an influencer actually is, I can connect myself to influencers much more easily, because I didn't perceive them as influencers before, so I wasn't taking that into consideration. So that's something that I can now reassess in a different way. That same, well, for stream, the playlist curators, I really have kind of a long run, but I'm willing to. Yeah. But all the others are pretty strong. I already have pretty good connections, and I've never taken that much use of them. Normally because I'm very shy. You know, I don't want to be taking advantage of the people that I know, but most of them were introduced to me exactly for that purpose. And I was always shy about, you know, taking advantage of that connection, when connections is what this is all about. And I'm connecting with people through music, but if I want more people connected, then I need to connect myself to the people that connect all of us in one place. And so I'm gonna take that into consideration. And also what you said, which is I can relate a lot, is not getting loop-sided and just focusing on you know, one thing at a time, one gatekeeper at a time, one relationship at a time, instead of trying to hit every other door. And I'm pretty good at that, which isn't good at all, but I'm pretty good at just dispersing my energy, my time, and my so I'm going to be more consistent using those connections and reinforcing those, solidifying those connections. And I'm much more aware of the importance of it, and how to do it from now onwards. So it's very useful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I could just say I agree with everything that was said. No? But the first thought that I already took back with me on the train yesterday is, but sometimes we don't realize how much of the things are out there, and listening to all of your music or about your book yesterday drove me to the point that you said today, which is the crossover, that sometimes I forget, or we forget, you can invite this artist that you think has nothing to do with you, but in the end you can create something amazing, not only for drawing the public, but just creating something out of the box. So that will be the first thing that I will focus more on.
That's great.
And also, I think that I guess we had those conversations, all of us, that okay, you are a product, or what you play, what you do is a product, and I don't like to think like that, but in the end, I like that someone comes and says, okay, this is really like that, and you have the ways to promote it. So taking all of the ways that you mentioned, which is also like kind of formatting things that I knew from my activities, but maybe now it put it on the list. And yeah, agreeing with that entirely, that like you have to be a little bit of this piranha of music business, no, and like swim around the waters and attack the right people, and there's nothing you can do about it. In the modern world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's my takeaway. It's I'm cool. Well, thank you to everyone for your energy, for helping each other, for participating, and for coming up with such great ideas, and giving it all your all. So round of applause to all of you.
And to you.
Thank you. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I hope it was useful, and that's it. Enjoy your afternoon. If you have any questions, let me know if anything still hasn't hit or anything.
Well, I would love to do the full course with you, that's for sure. Hopefully I'll be able to.
Sure.
So, I mean, from these 2 days, I know, and these are things that take a lot to sink in.
Yeah.
It was it's an amazing amount of information. I'm so glad that you were, sharing, so willing to share in such a generous way, because this is what you do for a living, and you take people to a certain point, you make them grow, and all of that, of course, takes time and dedication, and but still, all these tools can be applied to a certain extent to independent artists who maybe don't have enough resources to hire someone that could, leverage them
Yeah.
to that one level where you're at this point. That doesn't mean that we can't learn from this and still apply it and be to some extent successful in it.
Absolutely, yeah. It all scales. It's like
Yeah.
all the principles we spoke about can happen at a grassroots underground level, and it can happen at a major level. Just, it grows.
Yeah, and also at the same time, when you ask us to think big, and of course we're so used to, there's not going to be enough funding for this, and we don't even allow ourselves to think that if you start thinking big, and then you can just downsize it.
Yeah.
The other way around, if you always think small, there's nothing to make bigger, to make grow. But if you think the other way around, it's like, okay, you know what, I wanted this, but this is not possible, but I'm sure that I can make a version of this.
Absolutely.
Still much more satisfying than not doing it at all.
Exactly.
I mean, it takes you to a different place of action and impact.
Yeah.
So that's also a mind shifter for me.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of times independent artists and artists even with smaller labels and stuff, it's easy to kind of limit yourself because of resources and money, Money is like, you need money to do this stuff. But sometimes, if you reach out to people and they really like your stuff, even if they're working with major artists, like I had this experience multiple times, and they really like your stuff, and you're nice and whatever, you're friendly, people, many a time, other creatives, they're willing to sort out a price that, that you're comfortable with, or even do it for free sometimes, just because they believe in what you're producing.
Yeah.
So, kind of my advice is that, reach out to to the people that you think are unreachable.
Yeah.
Because, everyone is human, and if you have a good product or whatever, you never know what might happen, basically.
Yeah.
And even like reaching out to your own connections, as you were saying, that's very important because it's all based on connections and networking and friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You never know who that person might connect you with, so.
Yeah, it's a dance though. You have to be very delicate.
Yeah.
I just feel like that I'm tippy-toeing here and there, and I'm like, oh, now I'm just gonna tiptoe away.
Go more bold.
Yeah.
You get in your own head. Just go
Sometimes you just
harder.
have to, like, whatever.
And everyone's
No
so
shame.
friendly normally. You just make them into this, this people inaccessible when
Exactly.
actually they're just like you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They love music and they want to promote stuff, and they're into the business because they love the business.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they got to a place of some
Success.
Exactly.
In your
success.
eyes, because they might not see, success
Yeah,
is
it's
very,
relative,
yeah.
exactly, and I see that very clearly because it doesn't take you much if you're willing to. Sorry. It doesn't take you much if you're willing to do.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of it sounds like a cliche, but it's really true.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in between is what we're talking about, and us being successful is putting something into practice.
Mm-hmm.
Not the whole thing, perhaps in my case,
It's
but
not willing it to existence.
Yes, and I figured that out in person when I tried to do my own festival. So I was the curator of a festival, and the idea didn't come up like that event initially. It was just like an invitation to do a jazz cycle. They were like, let's celebrate International Jazz Day, and I'm like, sure. And do I have carte blanche? And they were like, oh, yes, you can do whatever. And so I decided to make a feminine festival out of it instead of just an opportunity for me to showcase my stuff and another collaborator of mine, which would just enhance me. And that's pretty much it on that one occasion. I just want to make it bigger. And eventually it's not all about me. It becomes, a community. Yeah. And then I'm lifted as the community is lifted. All of us are getting something beautiful out of this experience.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden people are contacting me because they want, they want to be part of the festival. And I see, wait, I didn't realize that now I'm one of those.
Yeah.
That also gives opportunities to others. And I feel the same way that I did before. I mean, I'm just a musician. I want my chances as well. But that just turned, in a different perspective. So the difference is making.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
I think that's a very lovely thought to end it on as well. Just do it. All right, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
And you're here tomorrow?
Yeah, I am here tomorrow, so you'll see me around.
Yes, we will. And Amber, will you be staying, or you're already leaving tomorrow?
I have to go.
Have a baby?
Yeah, my baby's first birthday's tomorrow. So just gotta go.